You are searching for the absolute understanding. Not more information, not another belief, not a better version of yourself. Something deeper, something final. Robert Adams often pointed to something very simple, yet almost impossible for the mind to accept. He would say the truth is obvious, but it is overlooked because we are too busy trying to become something. And maybe that is you. Trying to become calmer, trying to become successful, trying to become enlightened. But what if the absolute understanding is not something you reach, but something that remains when the reaching stops? Stay with me. If this speaks to something quiet inside you, continue listening carefully. Because this may not give you what you expect. It may give you something much simpler. Most people believe one silent assumption. I am this person. Not just casually, but deeply. You believe you are the thinker of your thoughts, the feeler of your feelings, the controller of your life. From childhood, everything reinforced this idea. Your name was repeated. Your achievements were praised. Your mistakes were corrected. Slowly, a center formed, a sense of me, and that me feels very real. It feels located somewhere behind the eyes, or inside the chest. It feels like the one reading these words right now. And because it feels real, everything else is built around it. Anxious thoughts become my anxiety. Sadness becomes my pain. Ambition becomes my goal. Even spirituality becomes my awakening. But pause for a moment. Before the next thought appears, where exactly is this me? You might say it's obvious, but look closer. Thoughts appear, feelings move, sensations change, memories flash. But the owner of them, can you find it directly? Not the idea of it, the actual thing. This is where the core human belief quietly rests. We assume there is a solid center inside us, a separate entity managing experience. Robert Adams often pointed to this illusion gently. He would say that the person you think you are is only a bundle of thoughts appearing and disappearing. And we resist that. Because if there is no solid personal center, then who is worried? Who is trying? Who is afraid? Stop for a second. Feel your hands. Notice the sensation without labeling it. Now notice the thought that says, I am noticing. Did you create that thought? Or did it simply appear? Be honest. This is not philosophy. This is direct observation. Here is a simple example. Imagine a man named Daniel. Daniel wakes up anxious every morning. He believes, I am an anxious person. He carries that identity all day, but one afternoon, while watching rain fall on a window, something strange happens. For a few seconds, he forgets himself. There is just the sound of rain, just movement, just quiet. In that moment, was there an anxious person, or only experience happening? Then the mind returns. I felt peaceful. I want that again. And the character reforms. This is how identity operates, not as a solid object, but as a repeated story, a loop of mental narration. Here is the uncomfortable part. The self you defend, improve, criticize, and protect may only exist as thought, not as an independent entity. And yet everything in society depends on you believing it is solid. Your ambitions, your fears, your comparison to others, even your spiritual search. If there is no fixed entity at the center, then what are you? Not as a concept, but as immediate reality. The mind will try to answer. Don't let it rush. Look instead. Right now. Experience is happening. Breath is happening. Hearing is happening. Thinking is happening. But is there a thinker separate from thinking? This is where the absolute understanding begins to quietly challenge everything you assumed. It does not attack. It simply questions. And the question is very small. Is the I anything more than a thought about experience? Sit with that. Because if that assumption loosens, everything else begins to shift. Good. Now we move closer to the center. Not the imagined center, the real one. The absolute understanding is not the improvement of the person. It is the discovery that the person was never the center to begin with. Robert Adams often pointed to this reversal gently. He would say, "You are not the body, not the mind, not the story." Not as a belief, but as a direct seeing. Here is the turning point. You think awareness belongs to you. But what if you belong to awareness? Read that again slowly. You assume you are inside the body, looking out at the world. But is that actually your experience? Or is the body appearing inside your awareness? Right now, sensations of the body are known. Sounds are known. Thoughts are known. Even confusion is known. What is it that knows them? Not as an answer from memory, as a living fact. There is something constant here. Not a thing, not an object, but a silent capacity. It does not age. It does not panic. It does not improve. It simply is. The mind says, "That is me." But look carefully. That silent knowing does not say, "I." It does not claim ownership. It does not create a story. It allows everything. This is the reversal. You are not a person trying to become aware. You are awareness in which the idea of being a person appears and disappears. This is an interpretation of the teaching, in my own words. Stay with it. The mind will try to shrink this into a concept. It will say, "So I am awareness." But that is still the person claiming something. Notice how fast it does that. The absolute understanding is quieter than that. It is simpler. It is the recognition that before any identity, before any memory, before any effort, there is this open presence. You cannot improve it. You cannot damage it. When anxiety appears, it is known. When joy appears, it is known. When boredom appears, it is known. Does the knowing change, or only the content? This is not mystical. It is immediate. You do not need to imagine anything. Just notice what is already happening. Even the resistance to this idea is appearing in awareness. Even the thought, "This makes no sense," is appearing in awareness. See the pattern? Everything comes and goes, but that in which it comes and goes remains. You have been searching as the character, but the character is being experienced. And what experience is it? Silence answers, not with words, with presence. And here is the paradox. You cannot find awareness as an object, because you are not separate from it. Trying to see awareness is like trying to turn your eyes to see seeing itself. It cannot be done, and yet it is undeniable. This is the shift. Not becoming something, but recognizing what has never changed. Let this sink slowly. There is less to do than you thought. Far less. Now let's make this practical, not abstract, not mystical, simple. Because the absolute understanding can feel distant until it becomes clear in ordinary life. First analogy, everyday life. Imagine electricity in a house. Different appliances run all day. A lamp glows, a refrigerator hums, a phone charges. Each device looks separate. Each has a different function. One produces light. One produces cold. One stores information. But what actually powers them? The same invisible current. If the lamp burns out, electricity remains. If the phone battery dies, electricity remains. The forms change. The current does not. In the same way, your moods are like appliances. Happy, sad, focused, distracted, confident, afraid. Each one seems personal. But what powers them? The same awareness. When anger appears, awareness is present. When calm appears, awareness is present. The device changes. The current does not. You are not the appliance. You are not even a better appliance. You are the silent power, allowing every mode to function. Second analogy, nature. Picture the open sky before sunrise. Clouds drift through it. Some are dark and heavy. Some are light and thin. Storm clouds may gather and release thunder. Then the sky clears again. Does the sky fight the storm? Does it prefer the blue? Does it try to hold on to the sunset? No. It allows all weather without becoming damaged by any of it. Your thoughts are weather. Your emotions are weather. Your personality is weather. Even your spiritual search is weather. The sky does not announce itself. It does not say, "I am sky." It simply remains open. In the same way, awareness does not claim identity. It does not say, "I am awareness." It allows experience to move freely, storm or sunlight. Third analogy, modern life. Think of a smartphone screen. On the screen, many apps open. Messages arrive. Videos play. Maps load. Games flash with movement. Sometimes the screen shows stressful emails. Sometimes joyful photos. Sometimes nothing at all. But what remains constant? The screen itself. If a dramatic movie plays, the screen is not burned by the drama. If a violent game runs, the screen is not harmed. If the screen goes dark, it still exists. The content never sticks. Now look at your experience. Thoughts are like apps opening. Memories like video clips. Worries like urgent notifications. But the screen, awareness, is untouched. You have been identifying with the app, with the content, with the notification, instead of recognizing the silent background that never changes. And here is the subtle shift. You do not need to close the apps. You do not need to delete the thoughts. The screen is already free, right now. Pattern interrupt. You have never actually been inside your thoughts. You only assumed you were. Feel that. Slowly. This understanding is not about escaping life. It is about recognizing what you truly are in the middle of it. Appliances still function. Weather still moves. Apps still open. But the background remains undisturbed. That background is not far away. It is this simple knowing. Reading these words, hearing sounds around you, existing without effort. Let that be enough for a moment. Now we must face something uncomfortable. Because the absolute understanding sounds peaceful, but it does not always feel peaceful at first. In fact, it can feel threatening. Why? Because the identity feels exposed. The mind hears, "There is no separate self," and it translates that into danger. If there is no me, I will disappear. If there is no me, nothing will matter. If there is no me, I will lose control. These fears are natural. They are not mistakes. They are protective reactions. The identity is like a security system. It has been guarding you for years, planning, defending, comparing, improving, surviving. And now we are quietly questioning its existence. Of course it resists. Imagine telling a character in a novel that they are fictional. How would they respond? They would panic. They would fight for their reality. In the same way, when you examine the self closely, something inside tightens. You might feel dizzy, or distant, or confused. That is not failure. That is the mind losing its familiar ground. Here is something important. The absolute understanding does not destroy functionality. It only reveals that the imagined center was never solid. Life continues. Breathing continues. Choices happen. Work happens. Conversations happen. But the pressure shifts. Without the heavy belief in a personal controller, experience becomes lighter. Yet the ego fears this lightness, because it survives on tension. It feeds on problems. It builds identity through struggle. If there is no solid me, then who achieves? Who succeeds? Who fails? The mind prefers anxiety over uncertainty. Let that sink in. Sometimes the mind would rather suffer in control than relax into the unknown. This is why the teaching feels destabilizing. It removes the reference point. You cannot stand as the character and observe awareness, because the character itself is being observed. And that feels like ground disappearing. But look carefully. Has awareness disappeared? Or only the idea of control? There is a difference. Awareness remains steady. What trembles is the belief. Here is another pattern interrupt. Nothing real is being taken from you. only imagination. But imagination feels real, and that is enough to create fear. When this understanding deepens, old habits may flare up. You may suddenly feel more anxious, or strangely empty. This is normal. The identity senses change. It tries to reassert itself. I must figure this out. I must understand completely. I must stabilize this. Notice the pattern. The I always wants ownership, even of freedom. Robert Adams would often remind seekers gently that the person cannot awaken, because the person is part of the dream. That does not mean life becomes meaningless. It means meaning is no longer forced. It becomes natural. But first, the resistance must be seen. Do not push it away. Do not fight the fear. Let the fear be weather in the sky. Let the confusion be another app on the screen. If you try to eliminate resistance, you strengthen the illusion of a controller. Instead, observe the discomfort. Where is it felt? In the chest? In the stomach? As tightness? As restlessness? Now notice. The discomfort is known. It appears. It shifts. It fades. What knows it? That knowing is not afraid. Even fear is appearing inside something that does not tremble. Stay with that. This stage is delicate, not dramatic, not explosive, quiet. It is the crumbling of an assumption you never questioned before. The assumption that you are the thinker of thoughts, the owner of awareness, the center of experience. As that assumption weakens, there may be silence, and the mind may rush to fill it. Let it rush. You do not need to stop it. Awareness is already untouched, even by resistance. Now we bring this down to earth. Not as a theory, not as something mystical, but as something you can notice in the next 30 seconds. Sit comfortably. You do not need to close your eyes. Stop for a second. Notice one sound around you, just one. Do not name it. Just hear it. Now notice the feeling of your breath, not controlling it, just feeling it. Now notice a thought that appears, any thought. Do you see how each one appears by itself? The sound came, the breath moved, the thought appeared. Which one did you create? Look carefully. The body breathes, the mind thinks, the world moves, and all of it is known. This simple noticing is enough. You are not trying to become awareness. You are noticing that awareness is already here. No effort required. Now 3 quiet questions. Do not answer them intellectually. Just let them land. If thoughts appear on their own, am I truly the thinker? If sensations are known, am I limited to the body? If awareness is present before every experience, does it need improvement? Let the questions hang. You do not need conclusions. Here is a small fictional example. A woman named Sarah has always believed she must control everything. Her schedule, her relationships, her emotions. One evening, exhausted, she sits in her car after work. She does nothing. No phone, no music, just sitting. For a few minutes, life continues without her managing it. Cars pass, her heart beats, thoughts drift in and out. And something surprising happens. Nothing collapses. The world does not fall apart. Breathing continues without her command. In that small gap, she feels a lightness. Not because she achieved something, but because she stopped pretending to be the manager of existence. That is integration. Not dramatic enlightenment, not fireworks. Just the quiet recognition that life is living itself. Through this body, through this mind, through this moment. You still go to work, you still make decisions, you still care about people. But the inner pressure softens. There is less gripping, less defending, less constant self-commentary. You do not need to repeat, I am awareness. You do not need to reject your personality. Personality can function like a tool, useful, temporary, but not your identity. When stress appears tomorrow, try this. Instead of saying, I am stressed, notice, stress is being experienced. Feel the difference. One creates a solid center. The other allows movement. Nothing is denied. Nothing is forced. This is very ordinary. That is why it is overlooked. The absolute understanding is not an achievement. It is the recognition that what you truly are has never been anxious, never been damaged, never been incomplete. Only the story was. And stories can continue. They just no longer define the sky in which they appear. Let life be as it is. And notice the silent background that never argues. That is enough. There is nothing dramatic waiting at the end of this. No final explosion of light. No spiritual badge. The absolute understanding is quieter than that. It is more ordinary than that. And that is why it is so easily ignored. You have been listening as someone, as a seeker, as a person hoping to gain clarity. But look gently now, before the next thought forms. What are you, without referring to memory? Not your name, not your history, not your goals. Right now, there is simple presence, breathing, hearing, reading, being. It does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It does not try to improve. It is already complete in its simplicity. Robert Adams often reminded people that truth is not something new added to you. It is what remains when false identification falls away. Nothing mystical, just clear. The mind may still ask, is this it? And that question, too, is appearing in awareness. See how everything is included? Even doubt, even boredom, even curiosity. None of them disturb what you are. Here is something subtle. You cannot hold this understanding. The moment you try to grasp it, it becomes an idea again. So do not try to keep it. Let it fade if it fades. Let it return if it returns. Awareness does not come and go. Only attention shifts. You have spent years strengthening the story of yourself, protecting it, improving it, defending it. And maybe you will continue to play that role in daily life. That is fine. Roles can continue. But now there is a crack in the certainty, a small opening, a recognition that the center you believed in so strongly may have been only a thought, repeated often enough to feel solid. And what you are is far simpler. You are not inside life. Life is appearing in you. Not the personal you, the open field of knowing. There is nothing you must do with this. No special practice to maintain. Just notice, sometimes, in quiet moments, that everything you experience is moving, and something is not. Rest there when you remember. Forget when you forget. It does not matter. You are not trying to become free. You are noticing that what you are has never been trapped. If this exploration resonated with you, stay curious, not anxious, not striving, just curious. Let these words settle slowly, and the next time you feel overwhelmed, pause, look. Notice what is aware of the overwhelm. That silent background is not overwhelmed. It has always been here. Closer than thought, closer than identity, closer than the one who has been searching. And maybe that is the absolute understanding. Not something you reach, but something you stop overlooking. If this reflection helped you see something differently, continue exploring gently. There is no rush. There has never been a rush. Just this, here, now.